Hey guys, so I kind of wanted to follow up on the beef price video that I did about a month ago. So of course the headlines were beef prices are high, and then Trump put out that memo, I guess you'd say, saying he was going to open up the Argentina market. So it kind of everyone started having a lot of questions on beef. So that last video when we were up at Apache livestock auction, we were talking about more of the upstream side, the live cattle, what the producers are dealing with and stuff. So today I wanted to get downstream on the retail side and talk about retail prices and where that's going, things like that. So I'm with Trey Clinkenbeard with Delberts Supermarkets. So if y'all remember about a year ago now, Trey was on the podcast talking about Delberts. So Trey, thanks for letting me come in again, ask you some questions.
Thank you, Cody. It's good to be here.
You bet. Well, tell us again about Delberts.
Okay.
A little history and where you're going now.
Sure. So I'm fifth generation owner, family business. Delbert was my great grandfather. The actual company is Clinks Incorporated, and we operate under three banners now: Center Foods, Delberts, and Clinks Supermarket. We've recently expanded and now have 8 locations.
Okay. Very good. Now, what have you seen, on the retail side of beef? Of course, everybody loves to blame the guy who puts the price tags
Sure.
on it in the store. There's a lot more coming up through the process, right? What are you seeing, like the history? Where did you see, beef prices really start to spike, like through COVID or?
Sure. COVID was the big one. And it seemed like, through COVID and after COVID, I guess the guys just figured out that they could get that on beef. And so it just seemed like it just never went back down to normal. It just kind of stayed. But obviously, we were talking earlier, everybody's expenses up, fuel's up, trucking's up, logistics, even the price of cardboard that they put put the beef in the boxes for is up. And all that stuff just compounds and just becomes an exponential problem.
Yeah, a lot of it is supply and demand, right?
Mhm.
And if you're willing to pay for
Yeah.
good meat, then the price depends on that. So as far as like between your 8 stores now,
Mhm.
right? You guys are obviously buying in bulk as much as you can, right?
Absolutely.
You try to get your prices to where it's best for the consumer.
Absolutely. So what's fortunate about what we do is we work with a co-op, Associated Wholesale Grocers, and they take care of the majority of the bulk buying for us. And they are, I'm kind of like a shareholder of them. So when they profit, they kick that back to the stores. And so that allows us to stay competitive and compete on bulk. Yet we don't have to worry about that stuff. We can focus on the retail side of things and not the wholesale side of
That
things.
works out good.
It's a very good partnership.
So y'all can go in and make better deals because you're partnering with them.
Exactly.
And then they're incentivized to get a better deal for you.
Exactly.
Right.
So we buy our meat from the same place, Homeland buys, Crest. We're all, if it's not Walmart or Dollar General, we're pretty much all working together.
Okay.
So,
And when it comes to you, is it mostly American sourced beef? Do y'all know? Do you know where your beef comes from? Or is it?
far as I know, it's 100% American sourced. I went and just, before you got it, I went and looked at the invoice just to make sure, but everything on this week's invoice was 100% American, and that's through every meat category,
Yeah.
not just beef.
Okay.
So, and I think we're going to talk about the country of origin
Yeah, I was
labels.
gonna ask you about that. Yeah, what your opinion was on that.
So for meat, it's not that big of a deal because everything we source is American. So we don't have to. There's not a whole lot of labor in switching out the labels. Right now in produce, it's a completely different ballgame because there's certain things that you don't have choice. You have to buy from. And during this season, you have to buy this item overseas.
Right. Bananas only grow in certain areas.
Exactly.
Oranges and this and
Exactly.
that. Right.
And it'll switch seasonally. So we're constantly having to watch it, stay on top of it. There's a lot of labor, a lot of expense.
Sure.
The tags you put on there, you lose them. You have to buy more. It's just it's frustrating in that way, but I get the benefit behind it, which is encouraging everybody to buy American products.
Yeah. Even when we were at the auction yard, Justin made a good point. We can't produce enough beef in America to supply year round. So we do have to supplement with Mexico, Argentina, some of these other beefs that, are in theory, they're grown in the same way, and it's a good quality meat too. But so when you guys buy and it comes to you, are y'all buying it in half a beef, quarters?
Sure.
It's not in final product when you get it, right?
It is not. Nope. So we get it in box beef. So we actually, in a lot of our older stores, we still have rails where they used to bring the hanging beef in.
Really?
Yep. But it's just not logistically feasible anymore. So yeah, we bring in box beef, comes in primal, and then we break it down and use a lot of that trim and stuff for our ground beef and things like that.
Yeah. So then y'all package it up and you're retailing it here. And
Yep.
so as far as shelf life? How much would you usually, if you don't sell it in a week or two, you discount it, try to get rid of it? Is there much waste?
There's not a whole lot, assuming that we're doing our job correctly.
Right. Yeah.
I'm very fortunate. I have got probably the best meat guys in the state of Oklahoma working for us, from top to bottom. And so I'm very fortunate. I don't have to watch that a whole lot. I think
You
right
keep
now
going.
we've got 2 pieces of markdown, and that's pretty rare. Usually it's 0. And so if you're staying on top of it, then there's almost 0 waste. Really.
Right. Between marketing and sales and stuff, you can get it out.
Yeah.
Did you tell me on the last podcast, like as far as some of your in-house, do you do your own smoking or
We do a
some
little
final
bit.
products or
We
something?
do a little bit.
Okay.
The health department is very picky on a lot of that
Okay.
stuff. And so,
You're limited on some of that ready to eat type stuff?
Yeah, limited. We have the rotisserie. That's a pretty successful program for us. And it really just kind of depends on the location. In Sulphur, we have a full-blown deli department where we have a smoker. We do all kinds of things there. We're right across the street from the school. And so we have a real huge lunch crowd there,
True. Yeah.
which is great. But for the most part, we stick to what works, which is rotisserie chickens, rotisserie ribs.
Right. Yeah. So in yours, all these stores we're kind of talking about, as far as when you have to process it and stuff, do you have to go by certain laws of processing, or what kind of like a processing facility we go through? Same kind of inspection type stuff?
Correct. Now, a lot of the key, areas of concern, all of those mostly happen at the processing plant.
Right.
So we don't fall under like USDA inspection or anything like that. We fall under just the state health department inspection, which is much more lax. It's much more simple. You just make sure you hit your temperatures, things get cooked to where they're supposed to,
Right.
ingredient labels, things like that.
Yeah. Okay. So going forward, where do you see, I've seen reports like beef hasn't spiked completely yet. Do you think, are you hearing anything that beef prices are leveling out, coming down, going up further?
I see them leveling out. I don't see anything on the horizon. It's hard to say because it changes every day.
Right.
We don't really get a forecast, but as far as supply and demand, everything seems equalized. Right now, for whatever reason, we're seeing a big spike in like chuck is spiking. For some reason, chuck's higher than it's ever been in comparison to other pieces of meat. Bottom round is really high right now, which is very odd. First time in my knowledge that I've seen eye round, which is more of the premium piece of that meat, be cheaper than the actual bottom round.
Right.
And I think a spike in ground beef demand has played into that, as people are pinching pennies and things. Ground beef sales are kind of coming up. Ribeye sales are going.
Ribeyes,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
As things go up. Yeah. People see the sticker price of beef now, and hamburger meat in the last 5 years or so has basically doubled in price. Ribeyes are up, whatever, $20 a piece now. But we compared them to, like we were talking about the input cost. But, when you think about the American producer and if you keep it in the American supply chain and things that go into it, you want to buy good quality stuff. You want it to be as local as possible. But it's also like, are you willing to pay $7 for a cup of coffee, but not for a pound of beef?
Right.
It's kind of comparable and setting that expectation too on your food prices, right?
For sure. One thing I learned through the processing plant is just how difficult it is to move beef. Even after it's processed. It's still the logistics behind it is very difficult. So, I remember a few years back, there was that big recall where all these stores got hit with these recalls and it was something like the ground beef inside of a Hot Pocket is what we got picked on. Some news outlets just picked fresh beef and just kind of made this big scare out of everything, and it wasn't really a recall.
So it was like anything with beef had to come back?
No, it was like Hot Pockets in the frozen food is like what it boiled down. Yeah, and it just rumors just went crazy. But during that scare, I was telling my customers, there's a cow grazing right across the street. we wouldn't buy beef from like Brazil or whatever it was that got hit on that that recall. And so, as Americans, we kind of have an advantage in just our logistics system is actually pretty advanced.
We can count on the supply chain to be clean and efficient.
Very efficient.
And expected the whole way through.
It's not cheap to take beef from Argentina and get it to here. It's just not. I mean, there's no good way around it. So if we can process beef locally, which is by locally, I mean like Kansas.
Yeah.
And then it just goes, Kansas to Oklahoma City to us,
Doesn't have to go as far.
that's a pretty efficient system,
Yeah.
you know? And so, you know, when with that whole Trump scare and everything with Argentina, I never worried or fretted about it just because I just didn't see it, but I've been wrong before. So.
Yeah, I think maybe we made a bigger deal out of it than before because we were already getting Brazilian, Mexican, and Argentina beef, and there's some live cattle issues with the horn screw, the fly down there in Mexico and stuff. But yeah, I think it was a short-term reaction, but that's the reason I kind of wanted to talk more about it.
Right.
And people do have sticker shots still on everything these days.
Yeah.
I mean, a new truck is $80,000 now, so can't be surprised that your beef went up as well.
Hey, we're not that old, and I bought my first vehicle for $6,000, and it was nice. It was a nice truck, and I mean, it was used, but it was nice. And here we are,
20 years later.
I mean, it's hard to wrap your mind around.
Truck would be 3 times as high now. So if you compare it over the last 20, 25 years, beef prices have maybe doubled, but everything else has probably tripled. And then all your expenses here, right, as a retail facility, your insurance has gone up, labor's gone up, right? Property taxes and all that stuff, right?
Everything's gone up. Everything. The supply side of it's really hurt. Plastics was really hurt in the tariff situation. And so like all of our sacks and, you know, you don't realize how much like those types of products.
Like all your bottles and everything
everything
is made overseas.
So it's not like our food was increasing, but what they package the food in, saw all these increases, and then receipt paper, all those things add up at the end of the year, and it just compounds, stacks on it
through the whole supply chain. Everyone's cost has gone up, so it's not you taking all the profit margin.
I wish. I wish, if I could, man. I mean,
I think we as consumers we forget that as our expenses go up, well, so do all these.
Sure.
Along the whole supply chain. Where do you see, like? Long term, you're up to 8 stores now, right? Do you obviously you're always competing with national chains and stuff. What kind of bottlenecks do you like in your business, do you run into?
Well, the main thing that we always deal with is skilled labor. That's the toughest part. So, specifically in the meat industry, a good meat cutter, it's hard to find. They're hard to train. They're hard to keep happy. You're dealing with cold conditions and your hands get cold and you're dealing with a knife all day. So you're threatening cutting a finger off all day long. And that gets tiring after 20 years, And so, that's probably the biggest bottleneck and my biggest worry for the future. But as far as, the meat industry goes, I think we're sitting pretty good. Prices are definitely higher than we want them to be. And I think we'll always
complain about the price. And the older we get, the more we'll remember how cheap things used to be.
For sure.
Do you see so most of your stores, right, are kind of in rural markets and things like that? Have you noticed many trends in the rural markets? They're growing, shrinking, or do you have to market differently in all these?
I think so. Obviously the first thing that comes to mind is delivery. Guys like Walmart. It's always been our strategy to be about 20 miles away from a Walmart. We don't want to be close to one. We want to be out in the woods, to where people really have to think about traveling to them, but the delivery system and Walmart coming to them that's kind of scary. I haven't seen it really affect a business just yet because anything that happens in the cities, it takes about 10 years to get to the rural market. So I think it's starting to become more popular and trending in the cities. And we'll see it in about the next 10 years or so. I don't know how we're going to react to that. But that's probably the first thing that comes to mind.
Are there any, as far as how much of your business is policy based, whether it's municipal or state regulations or federal? Like most of them retail beef and meat is a federal deal, right? USDA?
Correct. Just very minimal, state level restrictions that come in, checking your temperatures, making sure you're sanitary and clean and doing all those things correctly. Very minimal when you compare it to what I experienced at the processing plant at the federal level. The one thing that gets me is just there's a license for everything.
Right. Yeah.
If you want to sell something, you got to have a license for it. And so it's just, and those are always going up, every year. And it's just like, well, how many more licenses do we really got to have?
We see that too. It's like you need a person for an accounts payable and receivable and a tax person to file all your sales tax and to keep up with all your licenses and your annual certificates and things like that. I could see that and pay all your bills.
Oh yeah.
Do you foresee, like as far as Delberts goes, are you planning any more growth? Or Are you still working on the growth you had last year?
Yes, I'm still working on the growth I had last year for sure. But we're starting to get caught up on that. Just like with any business, big or small, we've got debt. We got to pay that debt off before we can think about anything else. But yeah, I've got some things brewing. So.
Yeah. So you touched a little bit, if you want to, on the butchery. So if people don't know, you had Grand Plains Butchery, right?
Red Plains.
Red Plains Butchery.
Grand Butchery.
Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. But you guys sold that, right?
Sold that.
You want
Yep.
to talk about, I haven't talked to that middleman yet, but from the producer to the retail, there's a guy in the middle that has to process all that, right? So what's the difference in like a custom processor and someone who's going to be selling retail?
Sure. So obviously the federal regulations is where the divide is. If you want to cross state lines, you got to have a USDA plan with a USDA inspector, and that becomes just very difficult. The paperwork behind it, you almost, I'm college educated and I struggled with it. It was tough. And so that it just becomes very difficult for just the ordinary guy to open one of those plants. Right. And so, the custom processor, they just deal with less restrictions, less paperwork. They're still doing the same things. And that's what's always cracking me up.
So if it's me just taking in a pig or a cow or a deer, if it's my meat and I'm going to get it, a custom processor
is perfect.
Yeah. But on that retail side, even in Oklahoma, if you're staying in Oklahoma, just selling, you got a lot of restrictions.
Yes. So this is the divide. And this is how the government thinks about it, is the consumer is who they're protecting.
Right.
Okay. So if you're taking your animal and you're getting slaughtered and you're getting it back, you're not a consumer. That's your product. It's yours. You didn't buy it from
It's
anybody.
only going to affect you.
Right. And you're responsible for yourself. But when it becomes from me selling something to you, now it becomes you're a consumer buying product from me. So you need protection, and the government steps in, and that's where all the rules and things come in.
As long as it doesn't get so burdensome.
Exactly. I understand it, but it's like, where do you stop? And that's where they go way past common sense. Right. Like way past it. And
they make it really hard for like a small guy to really, the laws are set in place for the bigger packers that are running 1,000 head a day or something.
Yep. If you're not running 1,000 head a day, it's going to be very, very difficult to survive in a federal processing plant, and compete. Right. You can do it. There's those niche markets that it makes sense. A lot of the direct to consumer beef products, those guys are doing
See a
really
lot of those
well.
since COVID.
Yeah. Those guys are doing well. That's where the small processor at the federal level makes sense.
Okay. Do you see, like going forward as far as marketing and social media and stuff, how has that changed? Probably when they got started back in the day, your granddad, it was just newspapers and coupons, right? Yeah. I think we talked about that on your podcast. Do people bring coupons in anymore? Or?
It is very, very small amount.
Has marketing changed over the years?
It's changed a lot. Obviously, social media has completely changed the game. Websites, internet browsing, things like that. We still do support our local newspapers and put the ads in there. I don't know the exact number because we don't track it, but our average age of our customer is higher than, I would say, a typical grocery store. So we cater to that clientele.
They're still getting the paper.
They're still getting the paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we cater to them, but where we're going for the next 10 years and what we're kind of really starting to preach is we're not going to spend anything on advertising.
Right.
Word of mouth is what we're going to do. And we're going to spend those advertising dollars on buying the product down cheaper.
Right.
And so you probably noticed it when you came in, we've added this new warehouse shelving rack up front. And we call this our Sincere Savings Program. Inspired by Acts 2, they met together in their homes and ate with glad and sincere hearts. And so that's just kind of one of our core values, is to provide smiles in store and memories around the table. And so it's more than just a can of soup to us. It's a meal that you share with your family, and that's really important. So we want to drive that down really hard in every way that we possibly can, and just helping create more memories around the table is our goal.
Save the consumer in the end too. And I think there's something, a lot of us, I think, feel that we want to support local business and support each other and keep it local as much as possible, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We feel that. There's people that they're on a budget and they're looking to save every penny they can, and I understand that. I think we're here for a certain purpose, and that's more convenience related.
Yeah.
I don't want to drive somewhere, so I'm going to stop in and save time, and and we're going to do the best that we can with that.
Yeah. I've always noticed like y'all's stores, and we go to Rush Springs because it's closer for us, but they're always clean. People are friendly.
Yep.
That makes a big deal too.
It does, in my
Customer
opinion.
service,
It does, in my opinion. I refuse to put self checkout in. I just refuse. I want that personal interaction. Yep. It may drive me out of business one day. I don't know, but it's just kind of one of those things where I'm just putting my foot down on it.
I think there's still people that appreciate that, especially the older crowd too.
Sure.
They appreciate that personal touch.
Yep. You got to know your customer.
Well, who's responsible for like the TikTok videos I see and things like that? Who's those two people that do that?
That is Sarah and Jill. Oh my gosh, they have so much fun with it.
I see their reels and stuff. It's kind of fun.
They're hilarious. Yeah.
That's a unique way to kind of get your brand out there.
And that's a free advertising thing. We don't put any money towards that. They just
make it real and
absolutely
send it out.
Absolutely. And they're doing a great job. So Jill came to me one day and was like, "Hey, I kind of want to make a video. If I do that kind of posting?" I was like, "Sure."
Yeah.
Then I look up and I'm like, what in the world has she done?
They're fun though.
It is fun.
It's something. It's like a radio jingle. You almost remember things like that.
Yeah.
Did you tell me each of your store have a social media page?
They do.
Okay.
They do. And we're still trying to figure that out. Actually, we had a leadership meeting before this earlier, and it's like, we're going to try to run some smoked rib promotions where we take the smoker around, we set up in the parking lot.
All right.
In order to advertise that, you've got to be careful not to advertise it. For example, we have customers in Hilton and customers in Comanche, and there's people in the middle that shop both.
Right.
And if they follow the wrong Facebook page, they're going to end up in that store looking for this promotion. And
open houses at Comanche today, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like Customer Appreciation Day or whatever.
Yeah, just anything.
Cook something out. Yeah, you almost want to differentiate each location a little bit, right?
There's overlap in some of our areas. Comanche Hilton's the biggest one. It used to be Comanche Warrica when we were down there.
Yeah.
But we do the best we can. I feel like it just saves us some headache. I don't want to advertise on one page and then our customer in Tishomingo 2 hours from now.
What's on that page? Yeah, I totally understand that. Yeah. Well, as far as what would you say, like people watching on social media, follow those individual pages?
Yeah.
Or if they want to reach out, do you guys get phone numbers?
Hey, we still answer the phone, believe it or not. We have a phone number.
Call your local store if you're looking for something? Okay.
Every day. We answer the phone every day and answer questions. So
that's good. Well, I think we covered everything on beef prices and a little bit more, right?
I think so.
Is there anything you wanted to add on it?
I don't think so, B. We got some exciting things coming up for 2026. We got some events coming out. We've got a big promotion for Super Bowl coming up. So $1.99 spare ribs, things like that. So
that'd be good. Yeah.
So
good big game.
Yeah. Watch social media. Keep, give Jill a like every now and then, and we'll just we can go from there.
Videos, yeah. Well, I appreciate it, Trey. Well, yeah. So obviously, we wanted to learn a little bit more about beef prices, and I wanted to talk to a local friend, a local business owner. So I'm going to try to find a middleman on the processing side too, kind of follow up on more of the beef prices deal because I'm kind of interested in it. So you guys look up all the Delberts in your local area, check them out, and give them a call if there's something you're looking for or something. And we'll see y'all in the next video.
Thanks, Cody.